Tom used to call it Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't notice it. He's one of the, you know how people like do that? Mm-hmm. They just say it, and that's how they've always said it.
Yeah.
We used to make so much fun of him. Hey folks, welcome to the Flipside. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And this is our top 5 couples games for Valentine's Day, baby.
Today, if you're watching it when you're supposed to.
That's right. If you're watching it when you're supposed to, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. We are going to be sharing these games with you. Now, these are not just 2-player only games. A lot of them actually are not just 2-player only games, but they play well with 2 players. And JT was very thoughtful and kept his picks to that are not just his.
My picks are for everybody.
They're for everybody. He was
A little bit of for everybody.
very gracious. Yep. I was very
selfish.
Selfish.
That's right.
And these are games that Jess and I have actually put our heads together and I picked the 10 games and then I had Jess put them in order. So this is actually Jess's order, and I'm sharing where I had those games listed on my ranking too. So weights, if you're interested in that, for the top 5, my weight is a 1.96 out of 5, and average was 1.86 out of the entire 10. My heaviest game, which is on this half, was a 2.2. Lightest was a 1.46, which was on the bottom 5.
Gotcha. My average was 2.23, but actually my average for the top 5 was 2.03.
Oh.
So they're a little bit lighter. But the truth is, I had one on the other one that's at a 3.23, which is there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because it's a very puzzly game.
Yep.
But it's not like it matters really as far as that goes. But my top one for this half is a 2.93, and that's preference alone.
Let's go ahead and get to it. Our top 5 couples games. Let's hit it. All right, my number 5 was also Jess's number 5. So this is our number 5. This was the heaviest game on both lists at 2.2, and it is called Forest Shuffle. Forest Shuffle is a neat little game where you're basically just taking cards out of your hand and you're building out your forest. You're populating, you're planting trees, and then you're populating each of those trees with up to 4 different cards that can be animals or like different kinds of foliage or anything like that. And the whole point is that you're just trying to score points. And you're doing that in a number of different ways. All the different animals score points differently. The trees score points differently. And there's one kind of major drawback in this, and that's scoring at the end of the game. That's kind of cumbersome. I hope they come up with an app in the near future that you can just take a picture of your forest and it scores it for you. That would be a lot better than going through it and scoring it person by person by person by person. But one of the reasons why it's a good 2-player game is because how long it takes you to count all of that is greatly reduced because you only have 2 players.
Yeah, you only got to count twice.
You only have to count twice, not 5 times. But we both really enjoy this game. Jess just loves building out her forest and all of the critters and all of that kind of stuff. She loves doing that kind of stuff. I enjoy it as well. It's a great little game. That's my number 5.
Sounds like you're overpopulating trees because you've cut down too much of the rainforest. Now you're just shoving as much into a few trees as you possibly can.
No, I mean, gee whiz, I've had people whoop me, and they didn't have hardly any creatures at all. They just had a ton of trees.
Foliage.
And it was something else, but it's a really fun game.
Nice.
I just have to teach you how to
I haven't played it yet, so
teach you how to play it. Anyway, that's my number 5. Our number 5, actually, Forest Shuffle.
not ours. It's ours.
Yes, ours.
Theirs.
Me and Jesse's.
All right, that's no problem. My number 5 is another one that popped on this list fairly quickly. And the truth of the matter is, well, let me come out with a name first before I just start ranting. But my number 5 is from Michael Kiesling and Next Move Games, right? I think. And that is Azul. And then my pick for Azul is always going to be Queen's Garden. I think it is the best Azul by far. But in any of the Azuls, it's a lot of fun to sit down with one player. You're drafting tiles. You're interacting significantly. Don't take my 2 blues. Please, I hope she doesn't do this or he doesn't do this. There's a constant back and forth in that drafting.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that this game you can play with up to 4 players, I think, or 5. I don't know. I played a lot at 2 because at 2 it's kind of its purest, right? Because it's a head-to-head game at that point in time. It's kind of funny because there's sometimes when you play this game with 4 players, and if one of the players kind of lets the person behind them do whatever they want, you can it almost kind of breaks the game at some points, right? Because that one person can just kind of run away with points, and you can't seem to affect it if everybody's not trying to affect the leader. Which is kind of a interesting thing, I guess, because there are games like that where if everybody's not trying to affect the leader directly, you're kind of playing for second or third just to get points.
Yeah.
But at a 1-to-1, at a 2-person game, that's pretty much at its purest form, and you can just sit down and draft tiles and build a pretty little board, and there's just a lot of depth and a lot of fun, and there's multiple different versions of Azul. So pick the one that matches you and your partner the best.
Sure.
And rock and roll. So.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That's a good game. All right, my number 4 is actually Jess's number 4 was my number 6, but number 4 here for Jess, and that is Stone Spine Architects. 2.13. This is a really fun game that scales really well from all of the different players, even all the way down to it's a great solo game as well, where you're just building a dungeon for your client and you're trying to populate that dungeon with all of the monsters and traps that are very tropish for D&D and that type of stuff. But you also have to pay attention to making sure, if you want to, you don't have to, but it scores you a lot of points if you do, making sure that your entrance is connected to your exit and all of the tiles in your dungeon are connected to both. You can score a lot of points doing that. But one of the cooler things about the game is as you're building up you start with level 1 and then you work down 4 different levels, and you've got 4 tiles or cards, actually. They're not tiles, they're cards. There are 4 cards on each one. It's a drafting mechanism where you're able to take a card and choose, and then you pass your cards over. And so that's the cool thing about it. But the other cool thing about it is the fact that as you're building out, you're also buying different things in a market phase, and the first person to pass in that market phase gets to pick a scoring card that they're going to be able to use at the end of the game to score points. And so as you're going through this dungeon, building this dungeon out, you're also choosing what cards you're going to be scoring points on at the end of the game as well, in addition to everything else. And that's one of the things that we really like about it as well. This is a great little game. This is a game that we backed on the Kickstarter after we had played the prototype a few times, and we are very excited to have this in our collection. So that is our number 4, but it was my personal number 6. I didn't know that she liked this game that much, actually. So
it's too low on your list. That's what I think.
That's probably what it is.
All right. Yeah, she likes that game. It's a good
No,
game.
she does. She does. I knew she liked it. That's why I included it in my top 10.
Yeah.
But I didn't know she liked it more than I did, apparently.
My number 4, I think that's probably not true, but I think every single gaming couple should own this game. Every single one. If you have a partner that plays games with you, you should own this game, unless you hate cooperative games. Or you don't know how to deduce things. No, that's rude. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, no, I just alienated just 30% of the people. No, I'm just kidding. All right, my number 4 is a game called Decorum from Floodgate Games.
Oh.
Decorum is a great game. It is a great 2-player game, and it's really set up the scenarios. There's a whole bunch of 2-player scenarios. I think there's 20 2-player scenarios in the base game. And then there's some 3- and 4-player scenarios as well, like 8 or 10 of those. But this really sings at 2 players. You're going to get a scenario. You're basically living in a house together. Surprise. And it has 4 rooms in it, a bedroom, a bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen. And each of those rooms has paintings and lamps and whatever. There's one more curios in them, and then also the paint colors in the rooms. And you're going to get a couple of cards that you have to match. I want all the rooms on the left side of the house to be painted red, because that makes sense. And I want to make sure there's a yellow lamp in each of those. And I also want to make sure there's fewer blue objects in the right side of the house than any other color objects or something like that. And the other person's going to have completely different goals. I am convinced that there are, for most of these scenarios, I'm convinced there's only one final answer.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's one right answer on some of these scenarios. I've tried to disassemble some of them and I can't do it. So, and that might be wrong, but I think there is. But anyways, so each of you have different goals, and the goals will work together. It's just you don't know it. So I paint the room red. I paint the bedroom red, and she has a card that says, whatever room is painted red can't have any yellow things in it or whatever else. And so there's already got a couple yellow things. And so all she can do is say, I hate that, or I don't like that, or whatever else. That's all the information you can give. You can say you love it, you hate it, whatever. You just be very, very passive aggressive between the two of you until you complete this puzzle. And each of you gets one turn at a time. And then after so many rounds, you get to show them, you get to tell them one of your clues, and they get to tell you one of your clues, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't want any yellows in that red room. I've been putting them in there over and over and over again. So, but this is a great game, great couples game. It's hilarious. It's an amazing game.
I've only played it with 4 players.
I'm not a interior designing person, but this is a really cool puzzle.
I've only played it 4-player, and it was a bit much. I wonder,
It's so good.
It's better at 2 than 4?
It's better at 2 than 4, yeah, because
I gotta borrow that from you and try it then.
It's so good, absolutely.
All right, my number 3. Jess's number 3. Again, I didn't know she liked this game so much. Was my number 7. I ranked it as a 7, but she ranked it as a 3. It's weighted as a 1.73, and it is called In the Footsteps of Darwin. This is a neat little game that goes all the way up to 4 players, but it plays just as well with 2, where you are basically following, it's themed around Darwin's journeys around the world and all of the scientific research that he did on all of the different species of animals and all of that kind of stuff. So that's what the theme is, but basically it's got a really neat mechanism where you're moving the ship around this grid, and for as many places as you move it, I believe it's 1 to 3 spaces you can move it. That's how deep into the row or column you can choose. Actually, it's not how deep, it's you have to choose that tile, and you add it to your player board. And your player board represents your journals and your research and all of that kind of stuff. You can hire assistants, and you can write journals, and you can write periodicals and all of this kind of stuff, and you can gain points in a number of different ways. But generally, it's a set collection thing where you're trying to collect animals from different countries or regions, and you're also trying to collect different kinds of animals in each of those regions, and you're scoring points for all of that. And I think it's a really fun game. It's a very light game. It's not hard at all.
It comes with a net for the animals.
No,
a
it
little
doesn't.
inkwell,
You're not trying to
inkwell, and a little few quills.
You're not trying to catch them.
Oh,
you're just trying to research them.
Oh, I see. Trank darts. It comes with a trank gun.
No, that's the wrong kind of science. But this is a really fun game anyway, but it works really well as 2 players as well. Sorry, we are French. Great name for a company. But that is Jess's number 3. It was my number 7, but In the Footsteps of Darwin.
My list printed so weird. I don't know why it printed so weird. So But anyways, I'll figure it out eventually. My number 3 is a great little 2-player trick-taking game. And it comes in 2 versions as well. And this is the Fox and the Forest. As far as sitting down and having a chill evening with somebody, the Fox and the Forest or the Fox and the Forest duel or duet are both fantastic games. It's a 2-player trick-taking game where if you're playing competitively, all of the odd numbered cards, you have suits just like you would normally.
Yeah.
And you're going to have cards that you don't play. You're going to deal out so many cards to each player, then you're going to have a little stack of cards that doesn't get used that round. And whatever card's on top, that is the trump suit. So the trump suit will change hand to hand. But all of the odd numbered cards in your hand have special abilities. Like if you win with this card, you still get the point. Or if you play a 7, then you have to swap another card in your hand with the other person, or whatever else. But you're trying to win these tricks. It's a great trick-taking game. It's got cute little artwork. In the duet version, you have a couple of rounds to pick up all of these little diamonds that are across the forest, and the forest shrinks as it goes, so it becomes harder and harder. And the way that you move on the little map to pick them up is, say that I play a card that has 3 footsteps on it, and she plays a card that has 1 footstep on it. That means it's going to move 4 spaces in the forest, and whichever one of us won that trick, it's going to move our direction. So you're trying to figure out, if I need to win the trick, really I got to win the trick and move 3 spots to pick up this little red ruby. So there's just this whole back and forth. You're doing this without obviously talking about the strategy. But Fox in the Forest is a great game. As far as 2-player trick-taking games go, probably one of the smoothest and light enough that anybody can play at any time. You can do it in the airport, or you just pull a little box out and you can play it anywhere.
I think that's the first time I played this game. Z had just picked it up, and we were on the way back home from the convention that he picked it up at, and we were sitting in a TGI Fridays in the in the airport or something like that, and
there's another 2-player trick-taking game that we really like, and that's Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
But Jekyll and Hyde has a few more pieces and stuff in it.
It's got a bigger footprint.
Yeah, and I guess Duet has a little board in it and those little pieces too, but it's still a pretty small footprint. But anyways, my number 3, Fox in the Forest, fantastic 2-player couples game.
Very cool. Jess's number 2 was actually my number 1 because I really like this game, and it's really fun to teach this game, and it's really fun to play this game.
Is that the art project?
Negative. It's not good with
inside joke.
I guess it is. It is an inside joke. Yes, it is. No, it's not the art project. I didn't put the art project on this list.
Woo!
My number 2 is Nar. This is a really great Viking-themed game where you are basically trying to collect the right kinds and the right combinations of Vikings for your crews so that you can go out and complete these different journeys that are out there. But as you're gathering your crew, you're also gathering certain kinds of resources that you're going to be able to use to help you complete those journeys and build up your reputation. And it's a race to see who can get to 40 points first. And then once somebody triggers the end of the game, whoever has the most points after the end of that round is going to be the winner. It's a really, really fun game. It's got beautiful artwork, and it literally comes in a box that is about that big.
Yep.
And it fits well, and there's so much game in that little box. It is amazing how much game they packed into such a small, concise package. It's just a great game. It plays up to 4 players, but 2 players works really well as well. And we both really enjoy this game a lot. It was her number 2. It was my number 1.
Yep.
So this is one of those games that we will generally just pull out and teach to anybody at any time. And when we get to play it together, it's always a good time. So that is Nar. Jess's number 2, my actual number 1, but I'm okay with number 2.
Nar is a great game. You know the second edition's coming out? It's called R.
Please tell me no. Please tell me no. Please.
Come on, pirates can go on adventures too.
That was good. That was good, but oh my.
I can't wait to see the artwork.
If it's vintage to trade, I'll buy it.
You will. All right. All right. My number 2 is for the Euro lovers out there.
Oh.
Couples have to have. There's Euro couples out there. I know there are. Those of you that are smarter than the average 5th grader.
Wow. Oh my. Just alienated half the group.
No, I know they're all smarter than that. Except for the 3rd graders that are watching. They haven't had the opportunity yet.
They're drinking their milk, okay?
Oh, that's right. Okay. My number 2 is from Scott Holmes and Deep Print Games. And this is Beer and Bread.
Okay.
For any company or for any couple that likes Euro games.
Yes.
This is a great 2-player, small footprint Euro game that plays pretty quickly, has a ton of fantastic mechanisms. You have multi-use cards. You're playing over 6 seasons, wet seasons and dry seasons. And those seasons are going to determine how many resources, which are different kinds of crops, barley and wheat and stuff like that, that can be gained in total for the round. So, barley could be really, well, they could all be really sparse in the dry seasons. So you're competing for those resources, but you have a limited warehouse space, so you have to manage how much of different resources you're getting. You're also managing, obviously, getting water, because you need water for everything. But your cards are multi-use, and each of your cards is either a beer card or a bread card. And you can either play those cards down for the resources that are on top of them, which has this really cool stacking mechanism to where if you play another card down with resources, drafting, you get the same resources that are on the cards that you played previously, so you can get more if you're going to do that. You can also play them down, pay the resources to actually go to your bakery or your brewery to make the beer or bread. And then those have to stay there until you play down a card to clean them. And when it cleans them, it cleans both of them so that they go now into your scoring pile. But you also get the card that you played to clean them as a new benefit, a new part of your tableau or your engine.
Yeah.
So it's a really great 2-player, very tight. As far as Euros go, very quick. It doesn't take very long. And there's just a ton of gameplay in that little game for you. So
that's a good game.
So that's my number 2, Beer and Bread.
That is a good game. It is not on our list because it's crunchier.
Sure.
It's crunchier, so it's not as chill for us.
I had to put 1 in there for the crunchy players.
For the crunchies. I get it. Jess's number 1, last one for this segment, was my number 3. So it was in the top 5. And that is a game called Bonsai. Bonsai is one of those games, a lot like, what was the other one that I said scales really well? Stone Spine Architects. Scales really well with all of the different player counts, even down to solo. It really does play well with 2. You're basically building out you're cultivating, rather, if I want to use that word, your bonsai tree. You're populating it you're making it grow with different wood tiles. You're wanting to put leafy tiles in there. You're going to want to put flowers on there. You want to put fruit on there as well. There's just, those are the different elements that you're trying to do. But the beginning of the game, you pick what different goals you're going to be shooting for. And it's one of those push your luck type of goal situations where if you meet the lowest form of that goal, you can go ahead and grab it, or you can say, no, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to push forward and try to get one of these higher point total in that same row of goal tiles. But on top of that, you're also kind of building your deck for a number of different things at the end of the game. There's a set collection, and there's also cards in the deck that will give you points for certain things that you don't normally score points for at the end of the game. So there's a little bit of that in there as well. It's just a really chill time, though, of a very aesthetic game, if I can put that way, because it's just fun to build your tree and to see how well you can get it to look. But scoring points on top of that is also fun as well. It's just one of those things that we both really enjoy this a lot. But it's a really fun game, and it's a really beautiful game. And the designers actually packed a lot of their own love for the hobby of doing bonsai trees, cultivating bonsai trees into the game. So I like that as well. Really enjoy this game. That's Jess's number 1, bonsai.
Nice. Well, before I do my number 1, I got to set the stage.
Oh, dear.
Over here, there's a candle, a vase full of roses, some chocolates. On the other side, 2 plates, big old steak, rice, potatoes, salad, glass of red wine.
Cool.
For each of us, not just one.
Cool.
That's kind of rude. And then in between that is a bunch of little cards. And I don't know how Vlada Shavato came up with these cards, Chex Games Edition, but this game is called Codenames Duet. This is the number 1 2-player couples game there is as far as for Valentine's Day. Codenames Duet is great. You sit across the table from each other, you have a card, you have a bunch of words out there, and you're trying to meld minds and give clues that'll make them pick the right cards off the board without picking the bad one.
Yep.
And the cool thing about the way the duetted plays, I don't like code names at all, just so you know. Normal code names, I don't like it. I don't like that, one team gives one word clues and the other team's smart enough to give 3 word clues constantly. It's just like, I'm going to break your neck. You give me one more one-word clue. But when it's your partner, they give you 1-word clues all day long. It's just the way it happens. But no, but you have a little card in between you, and the card works for you on your pattern and for them on their pattern. And yeah, you're just trying to get all of the clues without getting the bad one. And you have a limit of how many little tokens you can use and how many guesses you get. So this is a great 2-player game. It's just a good sit down at night, play some Codenames Duet, have a little bit of fun.
That's cool.
Kind of get mentally in the same pick, and there you go. That's my number 1 game for couples, Codenames Duet.
That was a surprise. I would not have picked that as being your number 1 couples game.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
It's a great game.
Cool.
Great game.
Alrighty then, that is our top 5 couples games. So you can, we probably should have put this up a couple weeks ago so that people could.
That's right. You're going to have to watch it on Valentine's Day.
Well, now think of it this way. You've got a whole year to prepare for next year.
If you watch it after Valentine's Day, then you just have to remember it 351 days from now, depending on what day you watch it, and use it next year.
Or just do it on your next date night.
That's right, on Valentine's Day.
You should have more than 1 date a year with your significant other. Anyway, that is our top 5. Give us a like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Cheers.